to order. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dan, you want to lead us in this?
Heavenly Father, we just stand before you, God, in the mighty name of Jesus. God, I ask that you bless this meeting tonight, God. I ask that peace reign here and everything be done civilly, the way it should be done and handled. In Jesus' mighty name, we thank you. Hallelujah.
All right, we'll start with the roll call down there with you, Tim.
Tim Carpenter, here.
Laurie Gunnison, here.
Dan Zalaga.
Chuck Terrio.
Joe Varga, here.
And we also have Linda Adamo on phone.
Okay. Was she sworn in? Did you find out?
Yes.
Okay, good. Good.
You gotta speak up, we can't hear you in the back.
Oop, yep.
Okay.
Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes from last?
Yes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion on it? Did you all right with it? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You don't hear anything?
You made a motion to accept the minutes from last month, and we accepted them. We'll try to talk louder now.
Tell her to put her phone on mute the speaker, because anything that comes that's in her background at all, it cancel hearing us. So her
Did you
speaker-
hear that, Linda? Here, explain to her.
This is
Linda,
another one.
this is Dan. Put your phone on mute, the speaker on mute, because anything that's in your background will cause the phone to keep doing that, and you won't be able to hear anything we say unless you're on mute. And when you want to say anything after that, take it off of mute and then say what you got to say. Okay? All right.
All set? All right, then, under new business, we're going to schedule the public hearing for the workforce housing.
I have something on new business. If we can
You need to
do
speak
real
up.
quick before that.
Wasn't that canceled?
Does everybody think about the 12th,
As far as what?
that public
What?
hearing? The 12th is
Absolutely
March.
not. We have 90 days to schedule a public hearing.
Yep.
We've not even hired or retained counsel in this matter, and I'm gonna make a motion or a recommendation that we call Mitchell Group is the attorneys that we used before the last time. I thought the woman did a good job. I could see if we could get her.
Is that the town council now, Tim?
We don't actually have a town council.
I don't know, that's not who we've used right now for.
Because we have somebody contracted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to use
Oh.
who's contracted.
We have, sorry, go ahead.
We do not hold a contract with any
Oh,
attorney.
okay.
We can, the town can use whoever they want to, so the planning board
Oh.
can go back and use the same attorney group that we used
Her
before.
name is Laura, I think.
Laura Spector Morgan.
Yep.
All right.
We already, the board already has a relationship with her. I think she did fine the last time. I mean, whether or not she's available, I don't know. I can check, give them a call tomorrow, lunchtime or something, and see where availability is. I figured I'd wait until I ratify the board, because that's generally how we do things.
Well,
And
normally
we
we would schedule the public hearing and then do that
we're
too.
not scheduled.
No, what I'm saying is normally what we do in our laws, our rules say that we schedule the public hearing. But I'm just saying how our rules are laid out now.
But if we.
You said that
did
we-
For 60 days?
we did.
60 days
Well,
sufficient?
I'm saying by RSA, we have 90 days from right now.
Right.
To now, how
Well, no, it was actually
How
from
we
the
attempted
application.
to schedule a public meeting, I have no idea.
No, it's.
So can I ask, this involves property that you own?
Yeah, all we were discussing was when we were gonna set the
You're
date.
talking about when you want to have the public hearing for this, is that
Right,
correct?
just setting the public hearing.
So you should recuse
recuse yourself from this because.
Only when it comes to discussion, setting a public
No,
hearing date.
you need to recuse yourself from the whole process.
No, only if there's any discussion about.
Well, we're discussing what lawyer we're gonna hire to help us through the process. We are discussing it.
Okay.
When I make a motion that Chuck recuse himself from this at this point.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought all we were doing was setting the date, so that's what Tim and I discussed before.
That's the only thing we can set the date.
You can't set the date.
Well, that's the only thing we can discuss right now.
Well, we have an
We can't discuss the
application.
application.
Excuse
We
me, we
can't
have an
discuss.
application, we need to set a date, maybe it's 60 days or 90 days, I mean, don't we have an
Well,
application?
we're bound by law to set a date within 90 days of right now, today,
Then we don't need
because
to,
this is actually when it's being presented to this board.
Actually,
There may
Jim,
be- There may be plenty of speculation out there that somehow it was presented, but in my opinion, it wasn't presented, and it starts now, so
There's
Jim,
a motion on
Jim.
the floor. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it. Oh,
I'm good with going with the motion, I'm fine with that.
Any
I make a
discussion?
motion that we don't need to set up the hearing.
There's already
Next
another,
month.
no, there's already a motion on the floor, Lauren.
Okay.
Yeah, so then you'd have discussion.
Yeah.
so there's a motion on the floor that Chuck Terrio should recuse himself right now from this process.
Any discussion on that? You had, in that motion, did you say something about the date? You including that in your motion?
No, I make a motion.
Okay. No. I thought you said something about 90 days.
He
No.
seconded.
No.
Oh, Dan seconded.
Who made the motion?
I
Jimmy
made the
did.
motion.
Dan made the
I can't
motion
make
to
a motion.
recuse. Dan made the motion to recuse, Jim seconded the
Yeah.
motion.
Any discussion on that?
I have no discussion on that motion.
All right. And vote on that?
Aye.
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 I'm good with that. All right, so you're gonna take over the meeting.
So then Jim takes
So
over.
you're
Yep.
a
Yep.
member of the
Yep.
taxpaying
Sit
public.
there, just sit there and be quiet,
Yep.
or move to the
I
crowd.
can move over to the side. So you guys.
So the other thing we need to do is now appoint an alternate to take.
Well, no, there's no
Hold on.
alternate. He's the vice chair, so he would take over. Since
Right,
he's
what I'm saying, but
Of new business. I'd like to make a motion that, we're one member short now. We're required or supposed to be a 5-member board. I make the motion that, well, I'm the
So we have to have
chairman.
Joe Varga and Linda.
I'm not chairman now. Can I make a motion?
you can entertain a motion.
Okay.
So
Okay, so I'll make the
one of these two
motion.
need to do the actual motion.
I'd like to make,
No, you want to entertain a motion to,
yes, to make
No, that's right.
to make Linda Adamo permanent sitting member, voting member of the board.
I will second that motion.
Yeah, so we should have a little bit of discussion on it, or at least I want to. Linda is a past chair of the zoning board. She was on the long-time state good standing member. I think especially going through a couple of things that we're going through, she'd be an asset. At the same time, if you'd like, and we can vote on both, I'd like to make a motion to make Joe.
one motion on the floor, one
Oh,
motion on the floor.
okay. All right.
One at a
So
time.
start with this one.
So any other comment or questions on that?
No, I'm in favor.
Well, is it Ben seconded?
Yeah, he
Yes.
did, he
All
seconded.
right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Voting member on this particular issue.
I'll second it for Joe.
So we will make the motion.
Make the motion to second it.
No.
And then either Linda or Dan have to second it.
I'll second that.
Any discussion or question?
Okay. No.
Aye.
Aye.
What was Linda's
Hang on a second. Linda, did you have anything to say?
I didn't
I
get
don't.
to hear very much of what was going on because there's just a lot of, I don't know, if it's background noise or the phone's not in the right place, but I did hear that there was a motion to make me a full member of the board, and I'd be very happy to accept
that's been accepted and we've done that. And we've also made Joe Vaga a temporary member, voting member right now. Also.
Through this
Through this
particular
process. Okay, so now I believe.
So, Linda,
Okay, thank you very much. I look forward to meeting with everybody next month. And I'm sorry that this coincided with a vacation down here in New York and Florida, but that's the way it goes.
well, enjoy your vacation, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, bye.
So now do we need to
They just need to go over the office at some point and meet with Teresa to fill out the paperwork.
fill out the paperwork? Good.
I probably do that. Well, Linda does, or
Linda does. Yeah.
All right, Janet.
Janet?
I heard the mention of the 12th. I know you guys aren't going to do it, but keep in mind that that week is voting and town meeting.
The 12th for
The
what?
12th is voting.
March 12th.
March 12th,
March 12th is voting.
Yeah.
And the 16th is town meeting.
so you
which
can't
is
do it that
Saturday.
day anyway.
We're not doing anything right now anyway.
No.
Yeah. We're good with that. I think, yeah.
But we also have to find out when the attorney's available.
Right.
And make the meeting for
Right.
that.
um,
Go ahead, sir.
So then we will not make any motion at all and set up any public hearing right now. We're gonna wait till we try to talk to an attorney and set that up. And we do have 90 days, so we don't have to make the appointment today. Okay,
Right.
perfect, good. Yep,
I was just gonna say the 90 days, I don't believe starts from today. I believe it starts from the date the application was submitted.
The
that February
application is
No,
being
submitted.
Submitted.
To an officer, which could be technically the board of selectmen, whoever received the application. It's kind of fuzzy the way the words are written.
The only one that received an application.
Well, the thing
as
is,
far
the
as
board of
I'm
selectmen
aware.
didn't receive an application, the only application.
It says an officer, it says an officer of the board, so the way the RSA is written, I'm just,
Right, no, I understand.
I'm being, just be careful the way the date may not start today. Well, this is one of the things we'd have to
That's
technically
something
figure
Lisco
out.
and also talk to. make
So
sure-
be careful on the 90 days. Don't think it starts today. It may have been, it might be backdated a little bit.
So it was
Oh.
February 8th or
February
February.
6th, I think.
Yeah, so just be careful on the start date on that 90-day clock.
Who was the application given to?
Robin,
She's not an officer on your board.
Okay.
So when was the application given to an officer on that board?
We have received one that I know.
it was
It's in an email, so-
So we received it through email. If we want to count that as acceptance,
That's gonna be a very,
which is something. that
Legal-
we need to
legal
make-
term
Which
that
is
you
when we
need-
have a discussion with the lawyer
Correct.
about the whole thing, we can make sure. By the way, we still have, figure,
we've got some time.
84 days left.
We got some time,
Okay.
but I just want to be clear that, be careful on date numbers.
Absolutely.
Let's document it right now. When did you send the email
I'm gonna have to look it up.
out? And we'll question whether that's
Robin, I can do that.
binding or
I can do that
not.
right.
Janet?
Point of order,
Yeah, I'm looking up right now for you.
point of order, Janet Hodges. Before this goes to the planning board, the zoning board, doesn't it have to go before the
Well,
planning board?
we're
first?
gonna explore that here in a minute. That's a question that I have as well.
Because that's part of the state regs, that
Right.
goes to the planning first.
Right.
And if the planning denies it, then it must go before the board. You can check your RSA's on that.
I don't believe anybody has said to this point that we've actually
14th.
accepted anything.
The 14th.
We're gonna discuss what you're talking about here in a minute. Thank you. So when was it?
The 14th.
14.
14th. Oh, that email went out that there was an application
Yep.
on the 14th. Okay. And we'll check with legal as soon as we retain legal to see if the 90 days starts then. Could you make sure that's in writing, please?
And you're gonna designate to do that, you'll be in touch to reach out to legal or law spectrum.
I'm gonna
Try to
take
get
a
one.
Spencer group tomorrow and, yes. Mitchell Group, Laura Spencer.
Hey, Jim.
I don't know.
Spectrum
I
board.
don't
Yeah.
think it is.
Come in back.
Janet?
The zoning board is an appeals board. You don't go for appeal until you have a denial. But if it's your building inspector, because your setbacks are wrong, or from the planning board because it doesn't meet the proper criteria. You don't go to the zoning board unless you have a denial in your hand, because the zoning board is an appeals board.
And that's by statute.
Yes.
Yep. I gave it to you already.
So,
So
question,
this is the same process we went through last time, Jim, and legal said you can go to the zoning board
well, you
first.
can, do you have to?
You don't have to go to planning first, you can go to zoning
Well, how
first.
does the 90-day clock start if, so the whole problem that I have with it is, so if the application was presented by our wonderful clerk, Robin, to her on the 14th, not to this board,
Yeah,
and then we never got to ask the question, well, shouldn't you be at the planning board first or so I guess again, that's another question for legal.
Yep.
And that's another issue with putting the cart before the horse on the whole process, which is what happened, in my opinion, at
Okay.
least.
This is not a appeal of what was going on last time. This is a new application.
correct.
So as a new application, it's got to go to the planning board first. They have to accept it, and if they deny it, then it has to be brought to the zoning.
I do not believe that's correct, is what I'm saying.
Well,
I believe the RSA's allow an applicant that knowingly has a zoning issue to go to the zoning board of appeals first.
But
I believe that
They
the
have
RSA's
that
allow
right.
that.
Don't interpret
for,
But I'm not, that's why I said I believe that. I am not positive about that. I would much rather have legal say that to
right,
us.
right, so it's just.
Because
another-
this question came up last time and that was the answer to
Right.
us about it.
Right.
So,
It seemed to me that the last time it was brought up, and it was basically just a courtesy thing, is the way it was explained. But, I don't know that it was statutorily required
correct.
by.
You could be correct. I'm not gonna.
I don't know, but we can check on it. Joanne?
If you've already decided that you're going to take this to legal counsel, sort it out, then you're discussing something that doesn't need to be discussed any further.
Exactly. Right.
And then you
Good.
can drop it
Yeah.
at this point, take it to legal, sort it out, and that'll tell you not only what to do, but when to do it.
I concur.
Next subject would be a good idea.
Yes.
So I make a motion, we just table this whole thing until we find out from legal what's going on.
Not a bad
Second.
idea.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Before we do that,
All in favor?
Well, you have a motion.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, let me just,
There is a motion, so.
Motion to second it, so now discussion and then vote.
second, the motion to table
Yep, that was,
the workforce housing application
Yes.
until we've spoken to legal counsel. Any discussion on
Well,
that?
I'd like to discuss too, that make sure that when we talk to legal, because I feel that it, like, it was brought up that we are in appeals process, if something is turned down, like the building inspector or the planning department or somebody turned it down, and I would like to make sure that we find out from legal if this application should be going to the planning first, because then we, they can,
well, yeah, that's part of the, all the questions are gonna be
that's
asked.
key.
Yep.
I do have one question. Did you have something you want to do before we do this?
Did I?
Yes. Because I can withdraw the motions if you want to do something else, and then make it again.
No.
Okay.
I think I'm good.
So now we just have to vote.
Vote. May I suggest that if you're going to decide what to talk to legal counsel, that could be a little workshop after what you're going to ask legal counsel?
Right, so we're going to table now,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, can we just vote on this? and
Yep.
then we can?
Yep.
Then we can continue on to Lenny.
All in favor of tabling the workforce housing application until we have retained legal counsel and checked on the things noted.
Yes.
Great.
Now, I'm sure, yes, we, probably having a workshop brainstorming session to come up with some quick questions for legal counsel once we've actually retained such is suggested. And probably a good idea. We can probably go through Robin and get her to send out an email asking when we'd all be potentially available, and we've got plenty of room to pick a building. So, okay, could you just put that in minutes?
So no, now, so we move on, once we move on from the topic, Chuck goes back as the chair.
I'm not sure how the procedure works.
Okay.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Lenny Melanson. Discussion.
Yes, one at the back.
We're missing him.
Oh, Janet?
I'm just asking, are your workshops public or are they private?
Well,
They've all been public.
Yeah,
Yes, they have to.
yeah, they have to be.
The workshop would be public, yeah.
So, do you know when that would be?
They haven't.
That's what we're going to find. It'll be posted. We haven't determined that yet.
It'll be on the town calendar.
Okay.
Do we have anything else to go over?
We got the old business, if we want to go jump to
We
that.
can jump to old business till Lenny comes back. Open-ended questions to use in a survey for residents.
Yeah,
Oh,
Lenny's back.
got Lenny. Lenny, we mentioned you. You're next up on the agenda.
I had to do something.
Now, is this a formal application, or is this just?
Yeah, I
a-
have an application in. I filled out.
He hasn't gone through the application process yet as far as paying the fee. I was under the impression that he wants to talk to the board and see what his options are, what the next steps would be, what he has to do before he does formally submit the application.
Because for the last 5 months, I've tried to come and use this meeting, but I already went through the other board, got my permit to build a house. I have 2 addresses on the lot, and I went to try to borrow money against it, and I couldn't because the one house wasn't done. So that's why I was subdividing. Years ago, it used to be 2 acres, and we decided to go to 5 acres to slow down the growth of the town.
Excuse me, Lenny, didn't you want to ask about a waiver too?
Yeah, they had, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go for a variance or a waiver. A waiver is easier to go through, I think, versus a variance.
a waiver
It shows different of a waiver versus a variance. I Googled it.
So I have a question, has this been through the planning board?
My family compound, let's yes.
Okay, so-
I've already got the building out.
where's the definition?
And the post office gave me 2 addresses on the same lot.
Instead,
And has this application gone to the planning board, and been approved by them or denied by them?
So, Lenny, when you came to the planning board, you came to have a family compound so you could build on the same property.
Right, I did.
You
Yeah.
have not come back to the planning board to now subdivide that family compound, which was.
I thought I would just have to go get a variance, because that's what I was told earlier by other people.
Well, not from the planning board, not from the planning board.
Well, when I went to put the house up, they did advise me to put the house far enough away in case I wanted to subdivide later.
oh, I don't think subdivide. I think it's pretty clear when you read that ordinance.
Well, I'm not trying to change the ordinance.
Right.
I'm trying to get
Right.
a waiver saying that it's okay for me to have 2.5 acres on each lot. Down in the middle of the
Right,
lot.
but we have an ordinance that says you have to have 5 acres.
Right, and that's
per
what the
house.
variance or the waiver is supposed to allow. It doesn't change the law. It's just giving me the right to say, just on your property, we're allowing for that
Well, I mean,
special.
So,
just in my way of looking at it, if we did that
23.
for anybody, we would open ourselves up to everybody.
20 years ago, when it was always 2-acre lots, we brought that up, said that we want to change it, or have, because we have families around here, we want to subdivide so our families could have houses on our same places. They said, oh, just gotta go for a variance, not a big deal.
Well,
So we all agreed it in, and we all said yes. That was 20 years
Well,
ago.
I mean, 30 years ago, 6-pack of bud was under $2. The laws have changed, and it's
comes
very
down to my
different.
financial and my family, as I pass on, each one can have a house, and I'm not gonna have them fighting over what I agreed. And you cannot borrow money against a house on one lot and have another house on the same lot. Banks don't like it. You have
Well,
to-
no,
But I have 2 addresses
Yeah.
right now for both houses.
well, give one back.
If one-
If you
if one-
like.
if one-
Well, I don't think that addresses for 911 if there's a fire. I mean, because multiple units in the building have different addresses, like even commercial buildings. They all have a different address and they're on the same piece of property.
Well, yeah, I
So an
mean,
address doesn't, it's only for putting a fire out or the police to come. It's not really,
And fire department.
and
Yeah.
especially like we have talked
But all
about.
I'm asking for is what they said 20 years ago, and that's what the variance is for. Take my 5 acres, make it into 2 lots, 2.5 acres apiece, and put a line down the middle of
I
it.
think I can sum it up by saying, we don't have the authority to
I
just
think
say
it needs to
you
go to the
do
planning
that.
board first, because
We,
they're the one.
we have to follow the ordinances and then the process.
So
So,
isn't that what a variance is, what
Yeah.
it says, is it changes?
once again, I think we're in the same thing. Does it have to go to the planning board first or us first? Same question for legal team.
right,
Right? It covers both instances here.
yeah.
Second set of questions are, the thing is, this is gonna be a variance in my opinion.
it is.
And you're gonna have to answer the 5 questions, and they're gonna have to be in favor for order for the board to accept the variance.
Right.
And
So you can put an application in.
Well, I did.
But we need,
if this is the official application, then we can't even talk about this right now, and all we can do is schedule a public hearing.
Right, well, this was just questions before he actually started the process. How does he start it? What's the best way to do it? I'm not opposed to trying to figure out the easiest way for him to do it. I'm just saying that we have to act within the ordinances and the laws of the town right now.
I
Not,
believe she has an answer for us.
Not an answer, but I would just like to read from the zoning board. It said, under family compound, careful planning is encouraged, although not required, that would allow for future subdivision of family compound into separate lots of record that comply with the zoning ordinances in effect at the time the family compound ceases to qualify as such. So you were asking for it to cease now. Our ordinance right now is a 5-acre minimum, and so you would not qualify for that.
And I think that was probably set up so that if you had more than 5, you had 15 acres and you're gonna put 3 houses, you
Well,
would,
it talks
you would
about
set them to be that you could separate them off individually.
I mean, the
But when
idea-
did you do your family compound though? That's something that we should ask legal also. When was it done? Was it done at the time you had 2-acre lots?
No, 3 years.
Then it wouldn't qualify, Lenny. If it was done 25 years ago and you had 2-acre zoning and you get approval for a family compound, you could have a little bit of an argument that, okay, I agreed to this and then did a family compound 20 years ago when it
Right,
was
but
2 acres.
isn't the whole idea of the variance to ask either a waiver or a variance?
Absolutely,
what
and you
it's called?
can. And that's
To
what Joe was
ask,
saying, you can.
You know, I have the road frontage, I have the buildings up, everything's all done.
You can ask for anything. I mean, that's what the process is. And they're gonna find out about legal, about the
we're
workforce
gonna need to
thing.
make a more detailed application though. There's certain criterias that you
Well, I
have
was
to
told to
fill.
fill out A, B, section 3, that's what I was told to do. I've been trying to get here for 3 months, 4 months, every time I come, either getting canceled or no, so whatever. So, I'm new with this, go the direction tell me to go in. If I'm supposed to go to the planning board first, then I'll go to the planning board. If I gotta come to you next,
Right.
I'll just follow
Yeah.
the way it goes.
No,
But
that's
I
fine.
thought the idea of variance was, I'm not asking for a quarter of an acre lot. I'm still going by the old rule of over 2 acre lots. So everybody's still plowing up a pot.
So when you ask for a variance, it's just what that says right there. You're making a request to deviate from the ordinance or basically the law.
Yeah.
And then, we looked at it.
And then it's up
why
to you guys, that's what that says. It's
You
up to
fill
guys.
out those 5 questions or 7 questions, whatever it is. And
Well, I'm
I
supposed to give it to the-
I would advise that you be very detailed and thorough in doing it, because that's how most of it gets denied, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. And then you bring it to us, we review
Is
it.
it you or the planning board?
Well, that's to be
See,
determined.
this is where I'm confused.
What they're saying is, so, what,
Roxanne has,
No, I don't, I'm all set.
no,
but
so,
you told us the date.
so what happens is, if something stages of completion, but if your project hinges on whether you actually receive the variance or not to make it feasible to do it, as a courtesy, I believe, but perhaps statutorily, you could have the right or option to come to the zoning board first, because if you get denied at the zoning board, then you can't do your project anyway, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I see people try to come to the zoning board first. And now, we're gonna check with legal and find out whether we are required to let somebody do that or not. That's where.
Is that what Tim's doing? Are you doing that with the current legal person that you talked to? Or are you waiting to hire that?
We're waiting to hire them, what's called, the current person we talked about, making sure we're going through the proper steps for the other thing.
No, for being able to go to the zoning board first. Are we gonna have this, the other girl, that
Discussion with
Laura?
them, yes.
No, that Laura girl is gonna do Lenny's thing too?
No, I don't, nobody's doing anything.
No.
No, but if we've got a question about
We
the
get a question
planning,
about whether he come to us to begin with. Are
Well,
we waiting to hire Laura
we
for
can
that?
ask, yeah, we're gonna ask some lawyer somewhere here shortly, whether you
Well, I
have
just
to
wanna
go-
let him know if we're gonna
whether
wait.
you have to go to the planning board or the zoning board first.
So that was my
That's
question. Are we
where-
gonna ask the current person that you're talking to? Who's the current legal
Who do you
people
want
that?
they don't have anybody.
We do not have the contract with any attorneys in the
Oh,
state.
so who were you
We can
using?
use whoever we want.
We were using, we were
Who were we using for the last time?
Yeah.
We were using the Mitchell group.
Mitchell Group.
No, the person you just talked to last week.
Oh,
Is that who?
were you talking to the New Hampshire
NHMA,
NHMA? Yeah.
NHMA.
Okay.
Free legal
Right, we
counsel.
perhaps could call them.
Yes.
And get an answer on this and not spend any of you guys' money.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to.
That's why you
I'm trying to
have
figure out, am I
90
supposed to be here
days
or
to
supposed to be
explore
there?
your options. The 90 days that we weren't afforded at the start of this process, thanks to an overzealous chairman perhaps, in my opinion.
This is February 6th, we still have till May 6th, his application just came in and stamped May, February 6th, so we still have 90 days.
So I would make the recommendation,
So-
Tim or Jim,
Well,
you can
I don't
send
believe
an
Lenny has an
email-
application right now.
Send
Lenny,
an email to NHMA.
so
and
let's
ask
do
what
that,
the
let's go, I'll send
process
an
is.
email to MJ,
Is what the
Yeah.
process is when somebody has they have a variance, or, they want to do a project, do they have to go to the planning board first, or they have to go to the zoning board?
sounds good.
That's what I was trying to get to, exactly what you asked.
And that's free legal
So,
counsel.
we need to make a motion to that so that we can get that to happen.
Let's see what.
Scott's had his up quite a while.
Go ahead, Scott.
Wait a minute.
I just have one question now, because I've heard about the workforce housing and now Lenny. And I'm not hearing an official acceptance of these requests. Like, I haven't heard an official acceptance of your project. I've heard that some people.
The zoning
emailed
doesn't
it,
do that. Zoning
I've heard
boards
some-
don't officially do that, planning boards do.
But
And John's-
statutorily, in our town, it's February 6th, but he got it on the 14th, so which one do we use? No, there's gotta be official acceptance by the board, so that way the whole board was notified at the same exact time, and that's when the clock starts.
Yeah, and the RSA is a little different for zoning.
But the only reason I'm
Planning-
bringing it up is not in regards to either project, but I'm hearing it on both now. So if you guys
Yeah.
don't have that implemented, I would strongly urge you to put that in, so you have some form of procedural to follow in the future.
There is
As far as your
procedure.
timeline.
When I sent my application, I sent it to Robin, and she emailed it to everybody.
Right, but she's not an officer of the board, and it clearly states it has to be received
Who-
by
Who's not an officer of the board?
Robin. Robin is not an officer.
Well, we're gonna
of the
get
board.
that should be asked too.
Done.
That,
So
so
all
that's
I'm
two
saying
things
is,
he's
it
gonna
should be-
ask.
You guys, at your meetings, every month, should formally accept whatever requests are out there. It shouldn't be this, well, I got this one on the 10th, but we didn't meet till the 16th, but my email says it doesn't work that way. It's when the whole board as a whole formally received the request. And that's when the clock starts.
You know,
No, that's planning board. So,
That's good, no, but it should be the.
I mean, if we wanna make that
That's not
rule,
how
we
I
should
would
make
say
that
I know that's
rule.
not how it reads, but I'm saying
Yeah.
you guys have
Well,
some
we're gonna ask the
issues there.
question, then we're gonna
Oh, I
get
agree.
an answer.
Yeah.
Legally.
Once we get the answer,
it's
Scott,
gonna go into a nightmare.
so he's gonna ask the legal group two questions. If an applicant could come to the zoning board first, and then also, what was the second question? I already forgot. Sorry.
When does the, when
When
does the,
is our secretary the official, what is it called?
Is Robin an officer of the board?
Officer of the
When does
board.
the application process take effect?
And if the application is given to her.
It's
I
actually-
share that because if there's litigation down the road. you
Yeah,
wanna have a
absolutely.
clear- you wanna have
and
a
that's
clear-
what I was trying to get
You wanna
at.
have
absolutely.
That's why I was saying, being careful with the 90 days. We need to know, so
Absolutely.
Those two questions will get answered too.
I think we need 3 questions in there, so it's planning board or zoning board first, doesn't matter.
Yep.
When does the application process start? Is it when it gets emailed out? Is it when we have a meeting?
And is she an officer of the board?
And is Robin an officer of the board?
Or even, maybe when we have an official meeting, like the official acceptance is documented on our minutes.
Correct.
That's what I'm thinking it should be.
Well, I have a feeling, like tonight's meeting, I have a feeling counts as the official, although we didn't say we accept this application, I believe it counts as the official because we now have, at a minimum, that would be when the clock starts.
Right, because we all have it.
Because we all have it.
You had a question, Janet?
Go to that you received it as board. You don't have to accept it, you received it.
Right, it's probably receiving. You wanna be careful with accepting,
Then you go from there.
because
Now,
accepting sometimes
on
means that
Lenny's
you're
vote-
okay with it. So, and it's different for the planning board.
On Lenny's issue, if he's got both buildings up, he did it under the guise of family compound. Too late. You can't just now build and then say, I want to divide, because that's gonna happen with everybody else. You're gonna open a can of worms.
Well, perhaps, but he has the right to question and go to the planning board, come to us, and we're more than happy to review it, and, you know, he gets a fair shake just like anybody else. I think Kate has a question.
Can I just
Go ahead,
have a
Kate.
quick question, Kate Bizarre? Do you have rules of procedure?
That's what I was trying to find. I was just trying to find
You
that.
don't know?
Because the state RSA lays it out, but I'm trying to find if we have a different one for Middleton.
Yeah, you all should have, I mean, the rules of procedure should be with part of being a ZBA. We do have something and we have.
Imagine when Linda gets to
Yep, all right.
Okay,
So,
I just
So,
had a quick-
hold
I just had a
on.
quick question.
yeah,
4 months ago, I tried to find out what my legal whatever. And nobody actually knows. And that's why I'm hoping we're straightening all this out today.
knows what,
To go to the planning board, to go to the zoning. To do,
right.
it's,
Well,
you know.
I mean, you.
I didn't
read
even
it
know about
when
the
you
application
read-
till February, and I started trying to get an appointment with you guys, to talk to you back in October.
So the way I read it is, the RSA says you go to the planning board first. However, if you wanted to subdivide that lot, which is a 5-acre lot, and we have an ordinance in town that says that you have to have a minimum of 5
Yeah.
acres, then you would have to come to us to get a variance to subdivide.
So I am
that
supposed
lot.
to be here first.
But I think you first have to go to the planning board, tell them what
You
you
don't
want to do. Well, the way I read
Yeah.
the statute,
Yeah.
You go to the planning board first, and Joe?
Okay, so Lenny, 20-some years ago, came in to do this project, okay? Since that time, okay, the rules of this town have changed from 2.5 acres to 5 acres.
No, it was 5 acres when he did it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so having said that, okay?
Right.
There was no need for the zoning board at that point. The planning board approved his project
Right.
at that point.
Yes.
Okay, so it only makes sense at this point that if he wants to change this now, he has to go back to the planning board. They rule on it. If it's not favorable, then he comes to you guys at that point to make it a yea and nay.
Right.
Okay?
So if they say
So
no.
he has to go back, because he never went to the zoning board prior to, he needs to go back to the same board that he started with at first, how many years ago, whatever, to go to the next step.
I want to make a motion, just to take care of things. I make a motion that we accept the application for the workforce housing.
No, no,
That we-
no, no.
I mean, we receive it on this.
No, we're gonna
day.
ask legal, let's don't convolute
Legal
that.
first, you've already handed it.
Yeah, no, we already take care of
Go
that.
further.
He's gonna check with legal first, yeah, let's not, yeah, let's work on Lenny's thing.
Right.
No, and I'm sorry. I don't want you guys to step in it, in these proceedings, okay? And I know Chuck is here and whatever. It's one of those things that anything that's said here tonight and what you decide on, he can use against you later on if it doesn't go his way. Just saying, that opens up that can of worms. Check with legal first,
Yeah,
then
absolutely.
make your steps.
Right. Yeah, that's been the plan from the beginning. With the.
That's why I stopped it there.
the-
Next planning board meeting is March 14th, 6:30. Just saying.
March 14th, I thought that was the town meeting.
No, that's
Something.
that's a Thursday, we meet the second
So
Thursday.
does that mean I have to go to you next?
I'm not telling you what to do.
Tim's gonna send an email
I will be in
tomorrow.
touch with you within 3 days.
Yeah, he's sending an email tomorrow.
I'm just informing you on the next.
And I'll let you know which way to go.
We're not married, you can't tell me which way from.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll give you some direction outside.
That's all I've been trying to find for the last November.
Consider it done. All right.
All right, what's next?
So are you satisfied? I mean, he's gonna call the New
Right,
Hampshire
we still have
Municipal
to figure it all out,
Association.
but we
And
will work our way down.
he should be able to get you an answer from them
Yeah.
for free. They're available to any municipality. So are you happy with where we're at right now? And we will, if you'd like,
I think because
We
I'm confused.
well, I'm confused
So,
myself.
You're more confused?
If I may, I will be in touch and hopefully clear up all confusion.
It will, once you talk to legal.
Okay?
Because
And then
then,
we'll go from there.
then everybody will know where they're going. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll find out. Awesome. Thank you, Lenny.
Old business.
Old business. Open-ended questions to use in a survey for residents. Did anybody work on that?
Oh, yeah, I did. And, because I read up on the family compound, which was our homework assignment.
Yes, it
was.
Everybody remembers.
Yep.
And so my recommendation is, and after looking into it, very few towns in the state actually have family compound ordinances. And personally, I believe it's because of exactly this. Like Lenny said, not even doing construction on it. If you have two family members living in two different houses, and the one decides they want to remortgage the house to go on a trip to Disney, the bank's not going to give you any money.
Right.
And so what's going to happen then? They're going to be right here trying to do exactly this. It's a snake pit looking to get stepped in. As far as I'm concerned, I think we ought to do away with it. That's my recommendation. If somebody else did their homework and had.
I did, in Milton and Wakefield, Sanbornville all have family compounds.
Right, all the
And
ones
ours is
around
pretty
us.
much the same, but they have revised theirs, and theirs are not as detailed as ours. 2019 Wakefield revised there.
Not as detailed?
Yeah, it's a lot smaller, like, I printed out the comparison, but I didn't put them side by side. But ours was back revised, I think in 2016, or a few years back. 2017, yeah, and theirs was revised in 2019, and it didn't look like, but I didn't compare the two, I only printed out some copies to look at, but I left my. But there are a few towns that do have family compound plans. Ours pretty much looks identical to theirs. However, theirs wasn't as detailed as ours. Ours was a little bit more detailed.
And let me say that the zoning board does not write ordinances. That's Janet's job. So, this was only
No, it's-
something.
It's John's problem now.
This was, and John's. There you go.
Again.
Sorry, John, I forgot that. Because I thought you were retiring and gonna take it easy and make the wife happy. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. We just were kind of gonna look at some ordinances that perhaps we see more often than others, and maybe we could tweak them a little to make it easier or better for you guys and for us.
And we were bringing it to the planning board.
And just
Yes.
because Lenny's was popping up, we said, well, we'll take that one and see if we could figure something out. Any other open-ended questions?
So we were talking about writing open-ended questions, or they're really actually closed-ended questions for a survey, right?
Right.
That's what we were talking about.
Right.
About the family compound ordinance. So I came up with 2 questions that we could put on a survey. One's a yes, no, one's a multiple choice. Very simple, no short answers, easy for people to answer. So one would be based on the situation we're currently in. We have 5-acre lots, someone builds a family compound, you have to split it to 2, not allowed by the ordinance. Would you be basically, are you in favor of reducing family compound lot size to 2 acres when the family compound ceases to exist? These are just questions.
Yeah, just questions we're gonna.
These are just questions to put out to the public, that's all it
A
is.
survey.
A survey question.
Just ask the town.
We just to ask the town in general, kind of like what the planning board did with the master plan kind of stuff. The second one would be, do you feel a family compound needs to remain intact for X time before it is split or ceases to exist? As in A, 2 years, B, 5 years, C, 10 years, D, other specified number there.
The amount of years that they have to keep it a family
They
compound?
would have to stay a family compound before you can have it cease to exist and split the lots. Because to me, what you would run into right now,
That's right, yeah.
what you could have is someone say, I have a 5-acre lot, I'm gonna make a family compound. Tomorrow, I'm gonna split my family compound.
Right, okay.
You would have to have a time frame put onto how long you're allowed to have your family compound before you can then split.
A minimum time.
A minimum time before you can split.
Joe?
Are there anything in the current planning board regulations, ordinances and stuff like that concerning family compounds as it exists now?
Yes.
Well, it's the zoning, it's in our zoning.
I can show it to you after.
Okay.
Yes, there is. That's
There
why
is.
I said, when you're considering having a family compound, you need to consider it for, because it's basically looking for longevity, you know.
Family compound ordinance, I feel, is actually written very well.
Yeah.
It tells you to be careful. Make sure that when you design a family compound, that you're following all the current zoning laws and be aware that zoning laws may change. So when said family compound does cease to exist, you may not be in compliance, and it actually, I believe, says you may have to tear down a building if you go to sell. So it's all kind of in there. So we were looking at it, trying to come up with questions to ask the public to try and see what the public thinks about adjustments you could make. Now I'm looking at, if I'm the guy doing it, what would I want? You can look at it if you're somebody else. I came up with a couple questions we could put on a
That's really
survey.
good.
That's all I was coming up with.
In the family compound, it states that no matter how many houses in that compound, it's one owner.
Right.
And you cannot charge rent to family. That's also in the statute.
Correct.
Right.
What they advise is when you do this, make sure that you've got enough property so that if that happens, you want to, get rid of the family compound, that each home meets the setbacks for 5 acres. What's in there, it has their own septic and well, and then you can do it. In a situation
So-
like this, it may not work.
It says you can share, you don't have to have two separate wells and two separate septics, it says it in the
Right.
law. However, it's
Right,
advised
you make sure that
to
you've got the property
have
with
two.
which to do it, based on what the state regulations are.
So because I only came up with one closed-ended question, and I feel bad because Joe did better on his homework than I did, so I'm gonna try to get back up on the grade here. How about if we suggested that you have to have enough property to be able to subdivide however many units you're
Right,
planning on.
that was my question,
No,
too.
here.
Right.
So if you foresaw 3, you would have to have a 15 acre.
That was my question too.
I mean,
With the proper street frontage.
right, and,
Well, we allow backlots.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you might be able
You
to,
just need the acreage.
right, get around the frontage part
Right,
and
with
stuff
backlots.
like that.
But I think that was a question I was coming up with also, was should we change the family compound ordinance to say that you need the amount, I mean, it doesn't help Lenny's situation at all because it's already happening, but for future people that want to do it, should it be changed, if they're going to use that family compound to build their other structures, other houses, they need to have the proper, in the way the zoning is today, and leave the language in, like Joe said, that's in there, that says, in the future it may change to 10 acres, we don't know what it could change. But the way it is when you get it approved,
Put that down on paper.
Right, put it on paper.
Planning board.
right,
Right, no, we're just bad.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what I'm talking, I've been
Yeah.
telling them that for months.
Right.
No, that's what we talked about last. So
Yeah, that's what we're worried about.
No, we're actually.
No, that's what we talked about last month, last meeting, Janet.
Yes.
But I've been down here for months.
No, we have been talking about it.
Because you are the ones that give the variances.
Yep.
You know where the differences have come now from 20 years ago. So.
Absolutely.
I've been asking to do this, ask Dan.
Well,
How many
and-
times have I told you, Dan?
And in my defense, as soon as I became chairman, didn't we start talking about it? Because Ken said no. The past chairman, when I was vice chairman, said no, we weren't even gonna discuss it. And I kept saying, the planning board's asking for our help, because we deal with this, what would be the best
Well,
changes?
we were pretty busy at that point.
Yeah.
But,
So-
And I am still on the planning board.
it's,
Nice.
Joe,
Whatever, if you guys want to change the existing ordinance and stuff like that, you have to submit it to the taxpayer for vote.
Absolutely.
right.
We're
we're not gonna suggest
We're not
anything.
changing anything right now.
No,
I'm just saying, for you guys
Yes.
to understand the future, that if you decide you want
It
to.
has to go to the town meeting, absolutely.
It has to go to the taxpayer.
it has to go to the planning board and they're gonna do it. We're just gonna give them suggestions. The planning board has to do all that. It's in John's lap once we get there.
We are trying to assist the planning
Right.
board in changing ordinances.
And we're doing all the legwork.
We're trying to come up with some survey questions that we can put out on the website on certain ordinances that we have questions on, to put out to the public, to maybe then write a change to the ordinance, not for this year, obviously, it would be
Right.
not until 2025 now for anything to happen. And if we come up with something, we'll move forward. We'll probably end up with a joint meeting with the planning board to discuss what we found. So we can have a group meeting with both boards, discuss the entire ordinance, to then which the planning board can move forward on with their decision of if they accept what we would like, or if they don't accept what we would like.
Chris, I came a little late. George, are you a sworn-in member of the zoning?
I'm an alternate member.
So you're sworn in and then?
Correct.
And so is Linda? As
Yeah.
alternate?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Or you appointed Linda as the?
And
As a
Joe,
voter.
but if we don't have enough members, you're right, we should have done that tonight. because we didn't have enough members, is make Joe a voting member for the meeting.
You did.
No, you made me a voting member, you only made me a voting member for his issue.
For his thing.
Right, but if we don't have enough members, he's supposed to.
Once Linda hung up,
Oh.
you made Linda a full-time member. Once she hung up, I
Right,
should have
I'll
been
make a
voted in, but it doesn't matter right
We
now.
don't need to do anything.
There's nothing to vote on.
All right, then, I'll make a motion that we beat this old horse enough and, move on to,
But we
other.
don't have to make a motion to that. We don't have to do that. So in other business, I heard that there was another change they wanted, that behind Jimmy Keegan's house to put a casino. That's what I heard.
Yeah, but I ran them Indians off and now that's.
I saw a couple the other day. All right, any other business, anything from the public?
I'll share with you though that Kmart is gonna become a.
To Middleton?
Kmart, it's a 2-year contract, my brother just got it, it's put in the old, school is gonna become a Holiday Inn. They had all the big wigs in there walking through the mall. So it's gonna, same people that owned Dover, they're making it
nice.
all in Kmart, it's all in there.
Awesome.
2 weeks.
Yeah, I'll entertain I'll make a motion and we adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion, I'll second his motion too.
Any discussion, or are we good? All in favor?
That's good.